I send my greetings to Pastor Bill Dobson and the church family there at Faith Baptist Church in Greenville, Ohio. Exciting to be celebrating your 63rd anniversary, and perhaps there's some who are there who go back to the beginning, and maybe there's some who've just joined the journey in recent years. And it's just great to be able to send you congratulations and to celebrate with you today. It may have already been said, but my roots go back to the start of Faith Baptist. In fact, I was born there in Greenville, Ohio. My father started the church, and when we moved there, there were just 3 kids. And as you think about the church, the first building and the second we broke ground for and began the building of it before we relocated to Cedarville. But my parents moved there in 57, 58 after Dad and Mom had planted a church in Gary, Indiana, where my older sisters and brother were born, and then moved the family to Greenville. So Dad would have been around 28 years old when they came to Greenville, and Mom would have been 27 as you see them there with the 3 kids. And then as they started the church, the next year, in 1960, is when I was born. And so all of my early memories of my first 10 years were there in Greenville. And so I have a lot of fond memories of the church and of the town. But it really began at Wayne Memorial Hospital. And I understand that's gone through some changes since 1960. And then our home, while Dad was building the church, he also was building our house. And the house we moved into up on just north of the church on 118. And there was a lane that had 3 houses on it, and we had the lot where Dad built the middle house. And Dad had a lot of skills. He would draw the blueprints and build the building for the church. He drew the blueprints and built the house, and did that for the second building as well. And so that's where I grew up. And so as you see some of the pictures I'm folding in here, I was pretty small in some of those early years, but some great memories at Greenville. Dad not only started the church, but during his time in Greenville, he helped start camps. He started Scioto Hills and Skyview Ranch. And so I would spend a lot of my summers accompanying him both to Scioto Hills and then eventually to Skyview Ranch, run up and down the hills there in my early elementary years. But some great memories in Greenville, and probably the most significant for me is I came to faith in Christ at the age of 7, and as the ministry moved forward, and Dad was contacted by Jim Jeremiah to move to Cedarville to take on the role of campus pastor, the first campus pastor and director of Christian ministries there. That was a big move, and all I had known the first 10 years of my life was Greenville. And I'll be real honest, I didn't have any interest in moving from Greenville. My friends were there, the church was there, and that was my world. And we moved in the middle of the year, in the middle of the semester. But one thing that made that very unique was, for me, and a fond memory, is my dad's last baptismal service, which was January of 1970, and was when I was baptized. And so I was, in essence, the last candidate that he baptized as a pastor before he took the position at Cedarville. And I always felt that as a special privilege that Dad baptized me there at Faith Baptist in Greenville. And perhaps I have the shortest tenure of membership, because joining there on the basis of baptism in January of 1970, and then we moved to Cedarville, lived in Jamestown for 6 months, and when we finally then moved into Cedarville, became members there at Grace Baptist Church. So I was probably only a member for 6 months, even though I grew up there. You know, when Dad was building that first building, another memory I have is sitting on our kitchen table, because I had stepped on a nail in the auditorium as it was being built, and him getting pliers and pulling the nail out of my heel, and then having to get that cared for. And back in that day, I think they used iodine for everything, and I just remembered smarting a bit. But those were some of the special memories. But as I think about our family, you know, my mom and dad we're so grateful for the years at Greenville. We have a lot of longtime friends, and just to mention a couple of those that have memories for me. And one of those was a gentleman by the name of, in fact, I don't even remember his real first name. He just went by Shorty Wildman. And we used his barn on one occasion because Dad bought a hearse in Columbus, a used hearse that was being sold. I just remember riding in the back of the hearse on the roller pins as we drove through the streets of Columbus when he picked it up. But he took that hearse to Shorty Wildman's barn, and there he converted it into our RV and called the Roman home. So Dad was always building things, creative things. So the church, the camps, our house, and even that camper that had a lot of memories. But as we think about families, Shorty Wildman, among others, the Grubers, the Bowmans, families that I remember very distinctly from those early years. And so we're excited to be able to just send you greetings as a PK and the first pastor's kid and the youngest of the four. And I know if Dad could be here, he'd celebrate with you. And it was 10 years ago this year, 10 years ago back in April, that my father passed away from pancreatic cancer. And this is a picture of him with my mom 10 years ago, and then with me. It was the last picture that I took with him of just the two of us. But the other picture I have of just the two of us was in the back steps of the first building at Faith Baptist Church. And I don't know if this was the Sunday I was baptized or not, but this is a picture of Dad and me in those early years, and perhaps that final weekend or around that time, that final year. And so some great memories. And as you celebrate, just know that there are those of us who trace our roots all the way back to the beginning, because I was born there and began my early years there and developed a heart for ministry. I'm privileged to continue in ministry, as well as many of my family members, and I have sons in the ministry, and God has just been so good to us. And much of that goes back to those early years at Faith Baptist in Greenville. And so we celebrate with you. And just about a month ago, we celebrated my mom's 90th birthday. And we had quite a few of the children, and all the children, but quite a few of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And so you see the picture here of that celebration. And so I send greetings on behalf of Mom as well. Have a wonderful time as you celebrate all the history of Faith Baptist there, and we count a privilege to share in a little way with those early years. And just have a blessed celebration this weekend. Lord bless you.